I often say like entrepreneurship is like flying a plane at low altitude. It's like highs are really high and the lows feel like you're gonna crash.
You want to see Jennyfleiss? Jenny is the founder of Rent the Runway. Now she's just doing cool stuff with her time, and she's gonna give us some advice. Much needed advice.
Okay, so first off, I think the most interesting businesses are built during recessions, right? So like Rent the Runway, we started because it was a particular pain point, not just for consumers, but for designers. Yeah. Because designers started seeing all their prices slashed by department stores and started seeing these fast fashion Zara companies eating their lunch. Yeah. So like they had a reason to look to us and work with us. Yeah. Consumers were like, it doesn't make sense to spend this, like we also want to work with you. So the disruption happened. That's gonna happen again, right? Like whenever you hit these bigger dips in the road, for an entrepreneur, it's like, to me, that's exciting. To me, it's like, all right, I'm gonna like be the one to persevere and survive. I'm gonna be the one to take advantage of consumers being more open-minded to different behaviors. So if I'm thinking of you and Air, it's like software actually is a big potential because every business right now is looking at their balance sheet and thinking about where could I not sacrifice growth but save money. And so if I think of like, what does it cost to run, you know, my production and to store my digital assets and to share and collaborate and to be more efficient and not take new photo shoots, but to like use existing assets and stuff. It's like, that makes a ton of sense.
But given this market environment, like actually last week, we just did layoffs. We laid off 15% of our employee base. You know, it just felt like in order to have the business survive, we have to make this move. Have there been those kind of moments that sort of question your principles, if you will?
Oh my God, yes. Especially like layoffs in particular, especially when it's people who like work their tail off for you.
Totally.
It's a really difficult thing to go through as a leader.
Totally.
I remember, you know, the time that was the most tangible was during COVID for Rent the Runway.
Yeah.
Like we always felt we were a recession-proof business. We're like, we started in a recession. When economy's hard, people want to save money. When economy's good, people have more events. So we're like win-win, recession-proof. Never could we imagine that there'd be a moment. We'd always be like, well, you always know you're gonna have to wear clothes. And we're like, all of a sudden you don't have to wear clothing. Like, it's just like, we're like, how could that happen in the world? So like that sucked. Meanwhile, it also like changed some of the way that debt gets marked up. So there's like all these whammies at once. And it winds up being that like, you do need to cut costs. You do need to face some layoffs because the reality is like, it's so easy to blame it on the macroeconomy or like, yes, a global pandemic and this and that.
That's the excuse of like, okay, everybody's getting layoffs, so it's fine if we do.
And it's potentially legit because like you may not have done those layoffs were it not for the fact that you also had the macroeconomy. But sometimes something like COVID pandemic happening can actually be like, what is the right answer for your business?
Yeah, it forces a lot of clarity.
Forces clarity or forces you to make tough decisions.
I mean, like switching gears in a big way, you know, specifically around the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Diversity is outcomes. You know, it's how many women do you have in your engineering team? It is how many people of color from what backgrounds exist in your organization.
Yeah.
Equity and inclusion, right, are in many ways process. You know, in many ways workflow and things that you can on a day-to-day basis improve. As two women starting a company, in what ways did you feel that or were forced to feel that by people out there? And obviously, 2022 is way different starting a company than 2008, 2009.
A lot more pressure and scrutiny on all of it. Whereas I think for us, a lot of it was really natural. So like we were two women starting a business. Our first like 4 hires were women, like naturally. Now the reason for that, and which is like, I think a little bit speaks to how you've probably built your business is, I think the people who build a company, it's best done when they are the target consumer. So I don't think that a man could have started Rent the Runway and had the same passion and lens on the consumer. We were women in our 20s. We felt the pain point at every step of the way, whether it was how to make the site look or how to think about like the garment bag and it needed to look beautiful and magical so it wasn't gross, like someone had worn it. Like every piece was like using our own gut check and our own lens. And that's like what drives and fuels businesses. No, I genuinely think your company is only as good as how you think about your end consumer, and the people that you hire onto your team therefore need to relate to those different groups of consumers. Like I do empathize with the fact that when you're a startup, you're running quickly, you only have so many resources. I don't think anyone is intentionally not hiring certain groups of people, but sometimes by virtue of who you have in your network, the easy answer can be someone who's more like yourself.
Is that like, I feel like listening to you and looking at you and talking to you, there's like that's what I want to be when I grow up. Success, public company, whatever, like forget all of that. Like you got something in your head out at scale and you found a way to have it resonate with people. Like that's what I really want. Is this like a stop in the journey and there's like a bunch of other things to be after that? Is this the like next thing that you want to solve for you? Like how do you think about where you are now and where you're going?
Yeah. I wish I knew is the short answer. And if I think back on like my life and my career, I often didn't know. But I do think that like if you have this entrepreneur operating like energy in you, you need to find ways to unlock it.
Yeah.
So whether it's through advising, whether it's through starting something else, like I'm not sure what that ultimate journey will like pan out to be, but I'm constantly kind of like eyes wide open and like just trying to listen to where do you want to spend your time? Like what keeps you up at night?
And the fire's still the same.
Yeah, I think you've got to find the fire, right? Like, you know, as an entrepreneur part, it's like you find the fire, you create the fire in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
There's so much innovation happening. I feel like it's some of the fastest pace I've ever felt. Like even faster than when we were starting Rent the Runway. The amount of things just like, it's dizzying.
Yeah.
And it's cool to get to see like the broad landscape of all of that, including with your business with Air.
We're close, we're not there yet. We're right on the cusp, I hope.
Sparks are flying, you're on your way.
Yeah, we're seeing it. But we get everything?
Yeah.
This was great, thank you.